Let's get ready to rumble! He's taken another one, and Howard Foster has stopped it! Wow!
Yo, what's going on, people? Rap on TV, back again Tuesday night, here to talk about the best things in boxing, live from London with my co-host Sam. What's going on, brother?
What's happening? I'm here. Good weekend of boxing for Britain, finally.
Finally, you know what I mean? You
finally, good weekend for British boxing, and yeah, looking forward to catching up and getting into all the announcements you've had this week and all the craziness that is the world of boxing. Now things are opening up, but yeah, man, here for it.
Yeah, lots to talk about. I think, you know, namely, we're always going to talk about like Josh Taylor's performance, great fight. Personally, I weren't too keen on the undercard, but I thought the fight itself was good level. Obviously, we're going to talk about Wilder, him pulling the spanner in the works, if you'd like to say that, but really he's just taking up his due right to face Fury, which has now been agreed. We're going to touch on that and what we saw over the weekend. But then also, I think just as big news was the announcement of Errol Spence taking on Pacquiao. Thought that was big news. I'm really looking forward to kind of seeing how that fight kind of plays out and getting your thoughts. But brother, let's start with the weekend. Josh Taylor, as you said earlier, finally was able to wave that flag for Britain, and it was a Scotland. What did you think? Yeah, exactly. What do you think of the fight?
No, I'm really happy for Josh Taylor, man. He's done unbelievable. Only 18-0 as well. Fought everyone that's out there, cleaned out his division, and now he's looking to kind of go on and do great things, man. But very, very, very impressive performance. In someone's backyard with all the odds against him, all American judges, you know, and he was able to. But yeah, it's just a bit disappointed it wasn't really made a big deal in the UK like it should do. I feel something like that needs to be really celebrated, because who else in Britain is undisputed besides Josh Taylor right now?
Few people in the history of boxing, brother, have been undisputed. And you know, I just want to check something actually, because I think, and it just goes to show your point about the and we might as well touch on that, but you know, the return. I mean, okay, IFL was there, Umar got up there, but it didn't feel like. I feel like even this today, you know, Ben Davison on Twitter announced the return flight when Taylor and them will be back in Scotland or Edinburgh, and I was even expecting a little Sky News, you know what I mean, just to have a little crew up there, do a little interview by today. All now, still nothing, and it's like I don't know, you know. For those of you that didn't see last week, I was on Ade Oladipo's show, and I kind of raised that question with Taylor. I feel like you don't really love him and you don't really hate him, so it's like there's no vested interest. Like, you know, he's a good fighter, but he doesn't do anything to stoke any emotion on either side. So I feel that's part of it. But now he's actually done, you know, more or less the impossible. You know, it's a great story. He's gone and become undisputed. Like you said, very few fighters have done that currently, but even in the past, still nothing. So it is criminal. I've got to say, and we're going to touch on that actually, Eddie's interview on IFL, he was quite vocal in terms of saying, you know, it's criminal. With his hummus and Dorito chips. But yeah, for me, bro, I think, you know, Josh Taylor overall, great performance. I mean, early rounds in that fight. I'll be honest, I saw some. When I say improvements from Ramirez, usually, in my opinion, he starts slow, he adjusts in the middle of the fight. But this fight, he came out, you know, tried to take the center of the ring, you know, was working the body quite aggressively early doors. And whilst I thought Taylor was doing some smart work, I thought, all right, you know, Ramirez is really in this, but I did question his stamina. And then I think by the middle of the round, essentially the shot that knocked him down, the first one, I think that was a piece of art, the way Taylor just finessed that shot into the fight. And yeah, it felt like the gas had gone from Ramirez though. So I give him his props to seeing the fight out to the 12th round, whilst Taylor may have coasted. But I think, you know, 2 knockdowns, some of the rounds he won clearly he dominated them. Great performance. I mean, for you, everyone always talks about, you know, the big fights, but where would you like to see Taylor go next? What would you like to see him do?
I want him to face Crawford, man.
Mm-hmm.
I think him versus Crawford would be pretty good.
Yeah,
Uh,
I'm feeling that one, but carry on. But
yeah, I want to see him against Crawford because I feel like the build-up would be pretty good. I
yeah,
think it would be pretty. Josh Taylor's a very feisty guy. He's got all the confidence in the world now. He's 18 and I don't think he's got much to lose. He's already in the history books.
yeah,
Um, I feel someone like a Crawford will be a good top rank fight. Depending on if Bob Arum wants to get that made. But yeah, I'd really like to see him fight some of those guys.
yeah. I mean, like you said there. I mean, for me, I'll be honest, bro. I'm not too keen on the Crawford fight, and more so, I'll be honest. I don't know if he wins. We've got Inam in the chat. Yes, big yourself up, bro. He's saying Ramirez drain, telling you a few fights at 147. Then Crawford, he ain't trying that shit with Crawford. Let's be real. I mean, yeah, in terms of the antics, and we'll touch on that. But I think I think before he moves up to 147, I think I'm not going to say a mistake, but I think if that your first fight shouldn't be Crawford. I think you've got to ease yourself into it. However, I do think I've got to say we speak about Ramirez being weight drained. I think Taylor is big for the weight. I think he probably works hard. He seems like a guy that trains all year round. So I think he works pretty hard to maintain that 140 weight. But I think there's a few interesting fights there where he could actually defend those belts. And I also think defending those belts in Scotland would be a great achievement for him. I mean, I know there's talks about Jack Catterall. That's his mandatory. Let's be honest, that's not going to get nobody excited. But now you're undisputed champ. I think there's certain guys you could probably make. Well, the problem is going to be money. I'm saying that, but I know the answer is they're not backing him financially. But again, maybe in the States, there's big fights. Mikey Garcia, he could have called it like Broner. Tank, him and Tank had a bit of a back and forth last year. Teofimo Lopez has said he would like to come up and be undisputed. So, for me, I think there's some good fights at 140 before he should go to Crawford. Yeah. Ultimately, even if he beats Crawford, which I don't think he does, who next? You can't fight Crawford, then try and fight a Thurman or a Porter or Ugas? No, you're going to want Spence Jr. I don't see him doing anything to Spence Jr. personally, bro. Yeah. So I don't know, bro. I want him to stay at 140 if he can, and have more defenses of enjoy the belts. You know what I mean? He works so hard. Enjoy the belts rather than just vacate. Whilst I get it, he's conquered. We've seen Usyk do it, but defend the belts if you can. In terms of Ramirez, though, I mean, obviously we saw the antics before the fight, the hotel, the lift lobby. Do you think Josh Taylor actually got into his head?
Definitely, he went. Yeah, I definitely think so. Went into his head. Definitely got into his head by going after his manager. So even getting a bit all feisty with his manager, then going up to him. Then 1 minute he's hot, next minute he's cold, quite calm. I think those all did play a part, just a little part, but ultimately Ramirez didn't look. I wouldn't say he didn't look himself, but he did look like he wasn't that comfortable at that weight.
Yeah. Yeah, we've got El Emirati in the building. Yo, big yourself up, El Emirati. Any top guy with a solid engine beats Taylor. If Taylor had a strong engine, I guess you're saying if Ramirez had a strong engine with the one. I mean, it's easy to say that, but you've got to have the strong engine. And I think, Taylor might look like he gasses out, but he does seem to be able to grit down and kind of bear through it. So whatever pain he's going through, he seems to be able to endure it. And you can't really argue with the record. I mean, continuous undefeated guys. Ramirez is now another one undefeated that he's beat. I mean, what more can you say about that? But bro, talk to me, man. You saw this. You saw that knockdown. What are your thoughts?
I just thought clean, man. I was quite impressed. I thought he had him then, but Ramirez did well to recover. He really did well to recover from nice shot though. I thought, wow. I was quite taken aback by that. I thought this guy's really, because I'm so used to, unfortunately, British fighters going over to America in their backyards, giving it all the mouth, giving it all the hype, and not delivering an explosive performance. I mean, this is across all divisions here. Like we've seen Joshua step up to the plate and come up short. We've seen all different guys, but to actually see someone like Taylor really take it to him, it's quite refreshing, man. Yeah. People could argue and say Brook was the last guy to do it, but even Brook's kind of against.
Don't forget Fury, huh?
Yeah, sorry, and Fury. Yeah. Sorry, completely forgot that. But the majority of Brits don't really step up. And Fury and Taylor have been the guys who've recently been able to do it. But I was just impressed. It's just refreshing to see someone come at him. and just really take it to him.
No, absolutely. I think you're right when you say that. And in terms of I mean, we speak about Taylor, Ben Davison. Would you say he done during the fight? I mean, were you impressed with what he seemed to be able to instructions he was able to give to Ben Davison?
Yeah, do you know what? I really like it. I really like Ben Davison. I think he's the new breed of coaches, like him, Shane McGuigan, the young guys who haven't really boxed at a high level, but are able to give really sound, cute advice to fighters, and they're able to be more relatable to the fighter. I think what we've been seeing over the years is that you get the really old or older generation fighter teaching the new generation, but I think now having a bit more guys like Ben Davison and the likes of Shane McGuigan and those guys come through, I think it's really, really, really good for boxing, man. In terms of the sport. And look what these guys are doing, man. They're creating world beaters and also training these guys to the elite level that they need to.
Absolutely. And bro, I mean, for me, Taylor absolutely smashed it. I can't say anything better than that. I love the antics. I got to big up our guy. Obviously, big up Chris Congo, who was in camp with Josh Taylor. He was helping him prepare. But I think the ultimate respect goes to the man like Dean White, who was able to essentially make sure this fight took place. I think it's fair to say. The antics that was going on in the lift lobby, and he came in. I think that's twice now. I think, boy, basically, we now know why Dillian White hangs around with Dean White, basically. Yes, but he's that closed circuit protection as well. I think that and I do want to touch on that because I think Inam said it. When I saw that, I'm not gonna lie, I was a bit like, yeah, Taylor's trying too hard here. Now I get that's his game plan and clearly it worked, but I'm just like, in my opinion, just like, you're not doing that with Crawford. If you're doing that to Crawford, trust me, you need to be ready to fight then and there. It's none of this getting into your head and cool down. Nah, like if you put your hands on Crawford before the fight, I'm telling you, he's going to try and attack you. And if you do it in that kind of a space, I think you're going to have a big problem. So I think he will learn. Hopefully he learns from that. Even when I look at the scorecards, whilst obviously he won on all the scorecards, some people felt it was a bit closer considering the two knockdowns. I do slightly agree, but I think we have to be real here and say, look, when Chisora does his mad antics, we know that he's down on the cards before he even starts. And I don't care what anyone tells me. The same must have been said would it happen for Taylor, because it's not a case of they dislike the guy, but it's just the professionalism. Like, unless someone's going to say it's a pure setup, I just think the professionalism of just going wild like that in a lift lobby is just too much to risk. What if you get injured in your hand? You injure your hands, someone treads on your foot. Like, there's elderly people there, there's kids there. It's just not necessary. And you're the better fighter. I felt he was the better fighter going into it, and he showed that. So you're kind of saying to yourself, well, if he lets his opponent keep cool, like, what does he think is going to happen? They're going to outbox him? I don't know. But yeah, it was a bit of a travesty to see that, to be fair. And then moving on, bro, I think there's no better place to start. Really, we did a quick show on it last week when it was announced. So we've got to just quickly touch on it now that we've seen further confirmation. Manny Pacquiao taking on Errol Spence Jr. Errol Spence Jr. in Las Vegas, 21st of August. Errol Spence Jr. signed this fight. Clearly, he's the B-side. I think we're all kind of questioning what this means for Crawford, but I think let's now focus on Manny Pacquiao, really, and say, he's come out and says he sees some flaws in Spence. He thinks he's stronger, he thinks he's faster, and he thinks the layoff may benefit him because of his age. Do you think that's some good points that he's making going into this fight?
Yeah, no, it's good points, but at the end of the day, I feel every kind of challenge that's been thrown at Errol Spence, he's been able to overcome it. And I think the biggest question we had with Errol Spence was, what's he going to be like after the accident? And he showed what he's like, and he's ready to fight. Yeah. It's going to be very interesting. I do think this could be an opportunity for Errol Spence to formally now go from being a B-side to being an A-side. But yeah, big opportunity, all to gain for Errol Spence, really. I see it as if he gets beat by Pacquiao, I mean, people could be critical of him and say, is he at that top level? But you've got to look at it, he'll be able to build and come back and learn. But Pacquiao, if Errol Spence beats Pacquiao, yes, he becomes the A-spide, but people are still going to ask that question, well, Pacquiao's been beat. Pacquiao's not invincible. Pacquiao, there's a method to beat Pacquiao, but he hasn't lost in quite some time. So, yeah, it's going to be interesting. Obviously, styles do make fight. I don't know about Pacquiao being the quicker guy. I feel Errol Spence is a lot more stronger and durable than Pacquiao, but we'll see.
I think that was a good point, though, and I think he may think he's got the speed. I think maybe being in the southpaw position that might help him, but I think the speed. When we talk about the championship rounds, and Pacquiao's done that plenty of times. I'm not so sure. It's going to be interesting though, because you spoke about the crash, you spoke about coming back and facing Garcia, and I think he looked kind of like he's back to business. He didn't. He looked good. Let's be fair. You can't really fault him. I'm wondering whether, he's going to get people. Whether people are going to question him. I think people might just back him straight. And it's whether he'll be complacent. I think you'll find a few people, maybe a few of the older school heads that will back Pacquiao. Maybe those with an agenda might back Pacquiao. But I think most people on the whole will be like, Spence is going to win. This is the passing of the torch. The old lion hands over to the new lion. However, I will say, and we've got to talk about that, if Pacquiao does it and beats Spence Jr., I don't know, right? So the whole topic was he's the greatest. And I would but come on, man. But I'm like, if he beats Spence Jr., I think we've got to say he's the best welterweight in the last 2 decades, man. Maybe that's a stretch, 2 decades, but bro, bro. But look, and I'm not even saying it because Mayweather's not fighting. I'm just saying whether you're forced to do it because whether Pacquiao's been forced or what, to still be able to beat these guys, bro. I don't think Pacquiao beat Spence, and I'm not even sure if Mayweather would beat Spence. Although Mayweather's been sparring and it's been looking a bit tasty, but I don't even know if Mayweather would beat Spencer. So for Pacquiao to beat him, bro, that's huge, bro. Thurman and Spence Jr. Bro,
that is big. That is big. Don't forget, everyone was screaming Thurman before Spence became
the man.
Yeah, this is what I'm saying. Everyone was saying Thurman before. You see what he did to Porter and whatnot. But yeah, man, it's crazy. It's crazy. It's going to be interesting. I think it's going to be a technical type of bout. It's not going to be a physical KO bout. I think it's a chess match, and it's just about who's got the best game plan. And I think Errol Spence should have the best game plan from my perspective. The only time I questioned Errol Spence's power was when Sean Porter nearly rocked him when they fought.
Yeah, but that's Sean Porter's a dog. Whoever Sean Porter fights, literally is what he's asking. So El Emirati is asking, is there VADA testing? With VADA testing, Pacquiao has no chance. I mean, to be fair, that's a good point because I remember being quite critical of this at the time. I remember Keith Thurman and Pacquiao wasn't under VADA testing. So El Emirati, to your question, there's no discussion about that so far. There's been no announcements. I'm sure we'll find out over the course of time, and that'll probably be a question posed. But at the moment, we don't know, and maybe not. But I'm not arguing. Are you trying to talk about the weight the rise in the weight divisions that Pacquiao's made? I'm not saying nothing. That's all you. Big up Conrad Boxing in the chat. Good to see you as always, brother. Pac must see something in Spence that we don't. Yeah, exactly. And I was saying that, Conrad, in terms of the speed. That he says he's faster than him, and the only issue I do have with that is that Garcia felt the same way, and for me it was a shot. So it's and Garcia was more vocal, and I think Garcia being so vocal and the media, a lot of the media were backing Garcia to win that fight. I think that pissed off Spence Jr. So we saw him perform. I don't know if the media will back Pacquiao as much as they're going to back as much as they back Garcia, bro. I don't know. What do you think?
No, I don't know. It's going to be interesting. Depends which kind of outlets, but I feel that people are going to push to Spence because just Pacquiao's the older guy. That's naturally it. Naturally, Pacquiao is the older guy. But again, Pacquiao has proven he's up there, man.
Exactly.
Yeah, so that one's an interesting one. That's currently at the moment. That's looking like fight of the year right now.
Yeah, I mean, to be fair, I'm trying to think what's in terms. The worst thing is, I think when you talk about all the boxes being ticked, I think you're right. I think you talk about the personalities. You know, Pacquiao, Spence. I think they're both big names in boxing. You talk about like the draw. I think there's going to be a lot of eyes that want to see this. So I think you're right. I think there will be better announced. So I think at the moment you might say it's up there, but I do think we're going to find better fights that will be announced as the months go along. So now let's talk about these two names. And don't forget, guys, we are going to preview Devin Haney taking on Linares this weekend over in Vegas. But we want to talk about the fact that Fury versus Wilder 3 has been officially announced. The boys are going to do it again.
Yeah.
Hard to really talk about that fight and not talk about Joshua, not talking about the runaround of Eddie Hearn. And you know what? I'm going to park Fury and Wilder as an actual analysis today because the fight isn't due yet. But I do think, you know, with the developments of Eddie Hearn's IFL interview, I think the developments of Frank Warren's interview with Seconds Out. So guys, go and check them both out. Clearly knives are being thrown. Clearly shade is being drawn. And shots fired straight up. Bro, you've seen the Eddie Hearn interview. What were your thoughts?
Frustration. I feel like he had to try and take it in. I really, you know, he feels like a mug basically because he's been telling everybody the fight's been on. He's been going on Sky Sports. He's been going on all the outlets. But I did think it was a bit fishy. Even when Ade came on and said that it's happening, I felt it. Even when Ade said, yeah, it's happening, I felt that it was happening. But it just goes to show you nothing's done until the fat lady sings, man. As everyone says, nothing is done until you see that announcement. Even Fury announced it, but there was no flyer. There was no official flyer, which just kind of, even to me, I was like, I ain't seen the flyer yet. I'm waiting for the flyer. But then ultimately, Eddie Hearn's reaction was completely just like, you guys wasted my time.
Bro, that's what I'm saying. So I heard from a good source that Prince Khalid was on the phone to Fury for almost like 3 hours. When that, you know, when Fury is talking about, that was the phone call that guaranteed and confirmed him. It was nearly a 3-hour phone call. Just got Emirati in the chat. He's buzzing today. He's saying they stitched up Hearn. He said this is Aaron teaching him a lesson forbidden on the Lopez fight. Grandpa Aaron snaked him. Yeah, and I do want to touch on that because I think it's fair because ultimately, again, you know, Hearn spoke about this in its interview, and I do think Hearn is a good promoter. I think you always have to take what he says with a pinch of salt, like most of them. I guess when we look at it in the cold light of day, I think he was doing what he needed to do. Like if you look at like agreeing with the Saudis, lining that up from the bid, from the logistics of where, you know, the location, you know, initially it was supposed to be Jeddah, then they were dealing with the Saudi government and they requested it to be in Riyadh. So you've got to look at it and say there's nothing he can do with the Wilder side. I know Warren's come out today and said, you know, oh, it was in the contract, he knew about it. I'm just like, you can't do anything. You can't expect Hearn to really be involved in that. They're going to be signed to NDAs, non-disclosure agreements, confidentiality. Hearn's not going to be involved in that. Whatever they say to him off the record, he has to take that as the truth. And let's be real. Bob Arum famously said, I'm telling you the truth today, but I was lying yesterday. You know what I mean? So he's not. You got to just take it as it is. So I think Hearn's done his best. I do think though it does give a bit of an issue for all parties. Like I said, I felt Joshua had come out of this looking good, but I think he's also got to look at his options. And I'll be honest, I didn't really think about it in detail, but Frank Warren's mentioning it quite a lot. So that tells me things are at play here. When he says Joshua's got his last deal with Eddie and essentially Sky for which will be the Usyk fight, and he said he's initiating that maybe for the Wilder Fury Wilder fight in December they can lead the negotiations with Joshua's team directly. Why would you say that? Why would you say that? If you know, I'm not saying that he's going to have any type of inroad, but I'm just saying why would you say that? You know, and maybe if we look at it and take a step back, maybe Joshua's sort of future will depend on what Matchroom do. Do Matchroom walk away from Sky? You know, if they walk away from Sky, everything's on DAZN. Like, how does the financial package for AJ? What does that look like? Pretty certain DAZN will sign him up. You know, he's a big star in the boxing game. But I'm just saying, you've got to wonder whether Joshua's just taking a slow approach to this and being like, let me see how things play out. He can't be too happy that Hearn was quite vocal either. But
Nah,
ultimately,
definitely not.
like that's Hearn, right? I guess that's what you know. That's what you do if you say that if you're working with him. Yes, big up Mr. Pacer in the chat. He's saying Wilder lost credibility out of the first 2 fights, should taken any step aside offered. To that point, though, boy, and I do hear that. I think the key thing we got to remember, though, with the step aside, there's no guarantee that if Joshua would have won, he is entitled to fight for those belts. I think that's the challenge they could have done. It's really, I would also argue it's on Arum to go back to Matchroom and the Saudis and say, look, he wants step aside. Let's give him 30. Let's give him 20. And we need to agree a contract that he faces the winner. But that wasn't even made. So you've got to look at it. Arum knows what he was doing. Arum didn't want this fight. I won't say Fury, but I'll say Arum. I'll boldly say that.
Yeah, definitely. Do you know what's mad? The guy's 89 years of age, man.
A man smoking the bud, you know. Edibles.
89 years of age. Like, I get what Emirati's saying about should have waited for the arbitration to finish, but at the same time, you can't do that. You've got to be very assumptive, and you've got to be able to move very quickly, you know. And I agree with some of what Eddie said, but I do feel Eddie was a bit overzealous in trying to make this fight.
Yeah.
And you know, it's been reported before that Warren has spoken about this fight. I said there is arbitration going on, so you know there is a possibility, but there's also not a possibility if it rules in Wilder's favor. And the thing is, for an arbitrator, anyone that knows about arbitration, 2 parties are wanting to agree to a unified decision. They want to be able to come to a sealed outcome. So anything they've said in the arbitration call is all confidential. So we don't know if they've been saying, look, we want to get this fight going, but we have to do this and want that. And don't forget there's other interests involved. PBC want a bit of that pie. They want to be able to exercise their rights on Wilder and get paid from it.
And that's the thing. I think it's 2 things, though. I think let's say a decision on the arbitration would have been made last year, September. For argument's sake, let's just say whatever we got into it, and they were like September 15th, 2020, you have to fight, like fans or no fans, then I reckon they would have taken the step aside money. I think if you look at it, and this is where it's the boxing politics, and I put that picture up last week with Wilder and Heyman, Joshua and Hearn, and Fury with Arum, because that's the politics of boxing now. And don't get it twisted, bro. Heyman wasn't going to let this go. I mean, it's no coincidence that the day Fury says it's on, the arbitration ruling is now announced, and Chris McKenna, sick job, is putting out the statement and on this article. But just go back into the chat. He said it was a cowboy move before engaging and making his fight very naive. Yet agree. Comrade Boxing. What do you think of the rumors that AJ will drop the belt to avoid the risky fight with Usyk? Yeah, you know what? That seems to be quite strong, especially because why Dillian White's being a bit active. I would be disappointed, and I'm not going to lie to you. And I rate Joshua, but I don't get why you would drop it. Like I don't, and I just don't understand that. Like, one, you in discussions to fight Fury. Like the team are telling us they would have fought Wilder, you would have fought Ortiz. Like, why drop the belt to fight? You said get it out the way, just like Fury. If you are like is getting Wilder out the way potentially, just get it out the way. Unless the training has been so devised towards Fury, which. Again, you know, I think, that would be a bit of a schoolboy error if that's the case. But, I don't know, comrade. Let me know what you think, because I think Usyk will give him a couple of challenges, but I expect Joshua to beat him as well. So that's why I'll be disappointed if he does that. For me, it doesn't make sense. Sam, what do you think?
Yeah, no, for sure. If he does drop the belt, he's gone from looking at coming out of this undisputed fight for the roses to now back to just being a guy that people say he's ducking and whatnot. Yeah. I think Usyk, you should be able to clean Usyk out, especially if you're basing it off the back of Derek Chisora's performance against Usyk. Some people argued that they fought Usyk. Derek got the better of Usyk in a lot of the rounds. So if you're seeing that and you know you're an elite fighter the way you are, you should be able to clean out Usyk. But you've seen in the past, Joshua struggles with the smaller guys.
And that's true. And like you said, I agree with you on that. I think he still beats them though. Okay, yes, Ruiz was the anomaly.
Povetkin.
But he still beat him.
Yeah, true.
Do you know, I get what you're saying. I wouldn't even say because you are right. I'll make you right on that. But I'm just saying he's beating them. And Usyk, like, I don't care what anybody says. Like, whilst his footwork has looked good against Chisora, like if he had fought somebody a bit more younger, a bit more active, a bit more aggressive, I think he would have lost at heavyweight in the heavyweight division by now. You put names out there like Joe Joyce. Everyone was talking about that fight. If we're being honest, like think about it. Now we was talking about that fight. Like most people were beginning to say Joyce should beat him. I get it, style make fights, but I think if Joshua drops the WBO, I think it's a disappointment because whilst we want to see the big fight, really we want to see Undisputed. That's why Fury's fighting Wilder. Emirati saying AJ will go to Heyman. I wouldn't be surprised if he's sniffing around. It would be a bit of a big move, but I think Joshua probably needs to fight in the States. I think
I can't see Joshua going to Heyman though. Can't see it.
I won't, man. Never say never, man. The way I look at it, and people might be like, "No, what are you talking about?" Of course, Canelo's not with Heyman, but Canelo sought advice from Heyman. That's on record. There's articles from The Athletic all quoting that. So when he finished with Golden Boy, he had meetings with Heyman to advise, what contractual offers were the best. And I don't see it being impossible. Joshua does the same thing. He said Mayweather been on that for time. No step aside was offered. Exactly, yeah. From what we hear, no step aside. I think that was Fury that was saying that. So, bro, let's talk about your guy, your homie, Devin Haney.
My homie. Devin, the dream. What I said, I've been following this guy since he was 16, 17 now. He's now, 21, 22? I'm yet to see that big pinnacle fight that's defining his moment, man. And will Jorge Linares be the one? I don't know. Beating Jorge Linares convincingly will put him on a high level, but you won't get the same kind of effect you would Teofimo Lopez beating Loma. So it's going to be good for Devin. I think he needs a kind of fight of this nature. I think he should win. These guys are very familiar to each other. They've been they've sparred many rounds, and I think the package is financially right for someone who's borderline retiring in Jorge Linares. Yeah. But again, he beats Linares, everyone's going to say he's an old fart, man. Well, that's what they're going to say, man.
And I'll be honest with you, and people might be like, "Boy, Koja," like I'm, I say to people like I don't hide. I say what I feel, bro. I think he's gonna put a beating on Linares, bro.
You think so,
bro? I don't know, bro. I think he's gonna put. Of course, we could be wrong, but I think he's gonna put a beating on Linares, bro. Like for me, Haney, whilst I call him an email champ as well, I think sometimes we can forget that. Those sort of controversies, we forget if they're talented. He's a talented fighter, bro. And I think like he throws punches in bunches. I think he's quite strong as well for the weight. I wouldn't be surprised if he even moved up to 147 by the time he's done, bro. And I know it's 135 now. I think he's a strong fighter. I think the speed he's going to have is going to be too much for Linares. And I think his power. And I think he's a smart fighter. We just don't see it that often. But I think he's a smart fighter. So, bro, I'm not gonna lie to you. I'm just like, I think he's gonna take him out. Like,
no, even against Gambit, when he fought Gambit, I thought that was a very mature performance. It wasn't. It was actually well put together. So,
yeah,
yeah. If he stops him, big statement. But I don't know if Haney. Not if he's got the power, but I don't know if Haney is there yet to be able to stop Linares, man. So. It's going to be very, 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 very interesting to look at.
Yeah, no. And look, I make you right. What you're saying is, I'm not underestimating, and that's why when I say it, I don't want to play down what Linares has done in his career. I think he's a good fighter. He's fought for a lot, over 47 fights, something like that. Like, yeah, but I think he's a big fighter. But I'm just saying, bro. For me, I just think Haney's is on that cusp of like, all right, I'm going to show you how great I am. And I think he works hard. I think he trains hard. We don't probably give him enough credit for that. And yeah, I think this is the moment he needs. like to now be able to get that fight, get a convincing, make a statement. Like you said, I think Lopez made the biggest statement. I think nothing Devin Haney could do, unless even if it's a first round knockout, like you said, they'll say he's old. But I think to make a statement, I think he got to put a beating on him, like a good, like from round 1 until you stop him in round like 7, like straight up. You know what I mean? That's how I'm seeing it, bro. So yeah, bro, for me, yeah, I look forward to seeing how things play out with that fight. Absolutely, I look forward to that, man. Yes, trying to pick up some new templates. Just added that in quickly. Yeah, bro. So I mean, look, we spoke about that. I think we've got to speak about this guy that is also on the undercard, and I forgot his name. So the tip of my tongue. A fight that's actually, it's not on the undercard. My bad. It's the PBC card. Udabali versus Donaire. I know a lot of people weren't talking about that fight, but bro, that fight is going to be good. It was due to happen last year, December. I can't remember if someone got COVID or something, but this fight is going to be proper.
Yeah, man. I don't even know what's going to call it. I don't even know what to say. That's going to be good. PBC are coming with the good cards again. To be fair, they didn't get enough of credit during the pandemic because they were producing some good fights. And another again, it's them proving themselves that they're up there with the, even though they're not, you know, all out there saying their business and talking and being accessible as like a Matchroom or Frank Warren would be, they're still there and they're still about their business, you know?
Yeah, no, absolutely. And just going to the chat quickly, Emirati saying AJ doesn't like technical fighters, saying an AJ would gas chasing Usyk.
Nah.
I don't think face him. I think Usyk has to be the one moving forward. He's saying he thinks that's the issue. Another question from Comrade Boxing. Devin is 22. Does he have to make a big statement at this stage of his career or just keep learning and building? I think you are. It's great points there, Comrade. I think if we're going to look at it, though, he's a champion. Like, even the email champion or a paper champion, like, he's a champion and he's a WBC champion at that. So I do think he needs to make a statement purely to get that whole email champion narrative, like just park that to the side. So I think, you know, let's say he gets to a controversial win over Linares, then he dips the standard of fighter in his next fight. Yeah, these things aren't going to help him. I do think a big statement now, like get all of us as fans, even, I'm going to say it, we're going to get them be excited, right? You're then saying, look, you put a statement against Linares. You got a lot of guys in the division. Clearly, you got Lopez. You know, you got Richard Comey as well. Don't forget him. You know, that will be a big win. So yeah, so I think, I think just because he's champion, we do need to kind of put him under a bit of pressure. Yeah, respect, Comrade Boxing. I know you know boxing. I see you. To be fair, I see you on the Boxing Lowdown asking great questions. Big up, Daryl. Guys, we're going to move on to the phone lines. We're going to pick up the phone lines and take on some callers. We're going to go to Uncle, our resident caller. Also, no, it's Mr. Daniel Appiah. Hello, sir.
How you doing?
Yes, how you doing, sir? You good?
Yeah, all good.
Talk to us, man. What's on your mind?
Well, yeah, just first things first. Congratulations to Josh Taylor. Just want to ask you guys, moving forward, what do you think we should do now? What challenge do you think we should take up next?
Sam, I'll leave that to you.
Dan, and Persia's always calling in. I wanted to kind of say the guy that I feel we should step up to is, I want to see him in that division with the fighting Crawford of the world, man. But people feel that, you know, Crawford's a bit too much for Taylor. And I think, nah, not really. He just can't be doing all this bullshit. All this kind of mind games, all this squaring up and not, because Terence Crawford is a different kind of beast to Ramirez.
Yeah, definitely, and yeah, that division is packed with quality, isn't it? Though.
Yeah.
I mean, him to move up to that division, but that's a good shout. Devin Haney against Linares over the weekend. Over the weekend. What do you think of that? Who comes out on top?
Yeah, bro. I mean, Sam, I'll let you all go next, but I'll be honest. Yeah, I said it. I feel like I feel like Haney's just is gonna take him out. I say take him out. I think Haney's gonna win, and it's gonna be convincing. That I definitely feel that. Yeah, bro. I do feel so. I do feel so. How do you see it?
Well, I like Linares, but I'm going to go with Haney, younger man, isn't he?
Yeah.
So yeah, I'm going to have to go with Haney to win that. To be fair.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Knockout.
Yeah. Boy. Do you know what? I'm going to go for a points decision. You know.
Yeah.
Yeah. I think he'll go all the way. To be fair.
Okay.
I think he'll go all the way. Yeah. Linares, I like Linares. I think he's a good fighter. Yeah, it should be a good fight. Looking forward to it.
Sam, how do you see that fight going?
I see it. Yeah, I agree. Points. I don't see Devin knocking him out. These guys know each other very well. I don't think, unless, I don't know, I just lean towards more points because Devin Haney, he strikes me as more of a very sensible fighter. He's the kind of guy that would box sensibly and win on points and to risk it all for a bit of extra attention.
Okay. No, cool. Yeah, I can't. Well, let's see what happens on the weekend. It's going to be a good fight regardless. Daniel, Fury versus Wilder 3 has been announced. You happy? Excited? Sad?
You know what? To me, I'm cool. I mean, I just look forward to seeing good fights, Kojo. So I'm all good. Been a bit of a merry-go-round, but you know what? If it's on, it's on, and I'm gonna go for Fury to win again. I'm gonna go for Fury to win. I think he'll stop Wilder again.
Yeah.
Yeah. I think he'll be too strong. I think he'll be too strong for Wilder. So yeah. And to be fair, a fight that I think is very tasty is Joshua. It's Joshua against Usyk. That'll be tasty.
How do you see that fight playing out?
You know what? I'm gonna go for Anthony Joshua to win that.
Yeah.
I think he could stop. I can see him stopping Usyk late on.
Nice.
Yeah. But that's me trying to think with a sensible, logical head. Because you know, Usyk, I can see Usyk causing problems. But I just think, you know, a lot of people underestimate Joshua's boxing ability, I think, at times. Yeah. And I think he could catch Usyk late on. That's a fight, Joshua. I heard you not saying that people were saying that he might let go of his belt to avoid Usyk.
Yeah, that's what they're saying. Yeah, that's the rumor.
I think he should fight him. Just get in there with him.
Yeah.
Just get in there with him and do a job on him, and then whoever's next can get it.
Yeah.
Do you know what I mean?
Absolutely.
So just get in there, do Usyk, wherever Usyk's got, because fighting Usyk would be a good little warm up for fucking Fury.
Yeah.
I mean, because Usyk's going to be tricky, big man, but light on his feet. Do you know what I mean?
Exactly.
So yeah. So anyway, let's have it. There's fights coming up that are just mouth-watering. So long may it continue.
Yeah, exactly. No, absolutely. So listen, Dad, we're going to move on to the next caller, but I appreciate support as always. Respect, bro.
Nice one, fellas. Have a great night. Keep doing your stuff, yeah?
Cheers. Appreciate that, man. Same to you.
Yeah. Cheers. Bye-bye.
Bye-bye. And yeah, we're going to Uncle Boxing.
Okay.
Yeah, 1 minute. Uncle Boxing, hello.
Hi, how are you?
We're all good. How are you, sir?
Yeah. I'm good. Oh, good. There's a lot going on. Yeah. I thought Taylor and Ramirez was a great fight. I actually thought Ramirez started well. The fight for me changed definitively in the middle round with the knockdown. Yeah, so I did good stuff, but I agree with Kojo. I think Taylor should stay at 140 for now. Don't chase Crawford yet, because I'm not convinced it's a big fight, and I have real issues with the way Top Rank, Bodirum, behaving. So they don't know how to promote big fights anymore. And I think the guys like Tank, Teofimo Lopez, Mikey Garcia, which could be really big, massive fights at 140.
Yeah.
In my opinion. Yeah, I had someone else, one of you say that Errol Spence, I love Errol actually. Errol's the best welterweight in 2 decades. Who said that?
No, I said Pacquiao if he was to beat Errol Spence.
Well, I love Pacquiao, but he's not going to beat my boy Errol.
Yeah. I'm with you there, Uncle Boxing. I was just saying if he did.
Even if he beat Errol, which is not going to, how does that make him the greatest of all time?
I think and as a welterweight, I think you got to put him up there. I think, if you look at who he's fought, yes, he didn't beat Mayweather. He came up short, but I think we all respect him as a legend, no? So.
No, we do. But look at all the guys Mayweather's beaten, all the guys, Tommy Hearns and Chico Leonard have beaten. I mean, come on.
2 decades, Uncle. 2 decades. I'm gonna hold you on that. I said that's why I didn't go to the 70s or early 80s.
There was a guy from Puerto Rico, my man, Felix Tito Trinidad. You forgot him?
Yeah, fair. But I agree with you. But still, I think Pacquiao might be ahead of him if he beats Spence.
Not for me. Not a welterweight. not a welterweight. I mean, you guys forget what Tito was like.
Yeah.
Yeah. So, guys, there was something you were talking about. There was a lot in this Joshua Fury debacle.
Mm-hmm.
There are a few things you mentioned, so I just want to throw a few back in terms of what I think. I cannot see Joshua leaving Matchroom because they've worked well together, they've done really well. And this debacle, I lay at the feet of Fury and Top Rank.
Yep.
And Frank Warren. Frank Warren can go on and try and make all stupid excuses. But I think the truth is there. I think someone at that side probably didn't want this to go on. And as far as Al Heyman's job doing his job.
Yeah. Doing
the best for his fighter. And there's something I think we're missing, guys. I've always had the feeling that if the fight between Joshua and Fury for the Undisputed does not happen now, I don't think it's going to necessarily happen in December.
Yeah.
It's no guarantee that there won't be an obstacle or one of the guys could lose. And I certainly don't see Joshua giving up his WBO belt. Why should he?
Yeah.
I think Usyk could be a big fight in the UK because Usyk has fought a few times in the UK. I think Usyk can fill Wembley Stadium or somewhere if we're allowed a stadium fight. It doesn't make sense to me for Joshua to give up his WBC belt to fight, his WBO belt to fight Dillian White. That doesn't make sense to me.
Yeah.
Does that make sense to you?
I mean, no, there's just rumors, but yeah, I agree. I don't see why you would do that.
Yeah. So I think there's a lot going on, and I agree with you. David Haney, emailed the 2-time WBC email champion. Should do a job on Linares.
Yeah.
What happened to Ryan Garcia?
So he had issues. I think he's back. I think he said he's back now. I'll be fair. I'm not too sure. I can't say 100%, but I know he was out, and then
you notice that he was after he beat Kuru and Luke Campbell.
Mm-hmm.
He was becoming all natural, causing Tank out, going on Mike Tyson.
Or even agreeing the Pacquiao fight, supposedly.
Yeah, and then when Tank showed willingness and agreed, he developed issues. He was fighting Pacquiao. Then he rejected. He had mental issues. He went on vacation. Now Tank has gone up. He's okay now.
Mm-hmm.
So it's a funny. Tank better not move back down to lightweight. I have a feeling the Instagram champion might develop bad mental issues again.
Well, we have to be considerate of people's mental health, there, Uncle. But it's Uncle.
Oh yes, I agree. I've been considerate.
I know. We just got to put that out there. But it's Uncle. We're gonna have to move on and wrap up the show. But I appreciate the call as always and the support, and look forward to speaking next week.
Excellent.
Take care.
Cheers,
thanks. Yes, bro. So so last few points. I just got to get a couple of the comments that were made whilst we were on the lines. So we said, starting with El Marasi. I think he's talking about Haney's power there. Harris Kalin in the building. Yes, big yourself up. Josh Taylor versus Mikey Garcia all day long. I think a lot of us would like to see that fight, especially at 140. I rate Mikey Garcia highly, though he's been enjoying life, Maidana style. So, but there was a little, not confrontation, but after the fight, he was in the arena and he spoke to Taylor. So maybe that's the type of fight that might motivate Mikey Garcia. If you think maybe towards the end of the year, maybe make that fight early next year. Maybe Taylor just has that defense against Catchall and a big fight overseas in the States early next year. Nicholas Mogi, let's big yourself up in the building all the way. Devin doesn't have that knockout power. So most of you guys, you think I'm mad, think Devin ain't doing it. He's doing it. I'm waiting to see him get that knockout power. Nicholas laughing at the comments from El Emirati. Harris Kalin definitely wouldn't overlook Usyk. Anything can happen in that division. That is very true. I think we say, and we all quick to speak so fast, but in the heavyweight division, anything can happen. You are right. Great points. Ring IQ TV, big yourself up. Appreciate you being in the building. Josh Taylor versus Mikey Garcia would be very good to watch. Great fight for both. Exactly. I think that would be a huge fight. I think it will be a great fight to sell it as well. And you can even put a bit of a backstory. Garcia is coming back to avenge for the Mexican side. Munga, Usyk fight, not a risky one. AJ should fight and deal with him quickly. I will be surprised and disappointed if that fight goes past 8 rounds. So we see Munga saying that AJ should get the job done quickly. No messing about. All roads lead to Undisputed. However, I do want to touch on Uncle's point about this fight maybe not being straightforward. I kind of agree. I feel like there's going to be a couple more spanners away. At one stage, I'll be honest, bro, I don't know how you felt, but there was a stage last week I was like, this fight might not even happen. Especially with the Twitter back and forth. Because Joshua wasn't joking, bro. Man saying he's going to slap Luke's bald head, man. Like, bro.
No, that's crazy. Nah. Joshua's on smoke. They were on smoke.
Bro. That's a mad one. So, just want to say for those new subscribers, new likes, really do appreciate the support as always. Been getting some interesting comments. So please remember, guys, subscribe, hit that notification bell. Be sure to also comment on any of the videos that you see. We do need that content to be streaming through the algorithms. I think the funniest comment I've seen, it goes to show that we're all friends here. Somebody said that I look like a fat Mayweather. So what do we say about that? We're going to take that on the chin. I'm waiting for from your comparison next, man.
Yeah.
Moses there saying AJ was fuming. Yeah, exactly. AJ was fuming. I mean, bro, it was good to see. For me personally, I'm like, you're the heavyweight champion of the world. I don't need your polite niceties. Like, ODB, man, give it to him raw. Like, you know what I mean?
When you said it, Joshua's actually quite what I like about Joshua, especially in this recent spat with Fury, is when he just sent the video of Tyson Fury just standing there doing nothing when Billy Joe's dad was getting laid out. And that's funny because man was talking about bare knuckle boxing and the fighting man. To be fair, disclaimer, he was with his son.
That's what I'm saying. Yeah.
But the way he kind of moved and everything, not everyone would know that. So it was quite funny. And that would have really wound Fury up, I think. And
I don't care because we always spoke about the mind games between them, and a lot of people were giving it to Fury, but I don't care. Would have said Fury will have the edge there, but I don't give a shit, man. Joshua not. That's one. He's one up. Joshua's one up.
Don't even forget, yeah, he retweeted a comment saying everyone's still waiting to hear what you did with that £8-9 million of your purse that you had. And I'm like, yeah, that's true. That's actually true,
bro. And the whole team. So it's good because the fight does happen. I think it needs to be a full-pronged attack. When you go to war and it's not just one. You don't have the archers. You don't just have your foot soldiers. You got the men that are throwing the cannonballs. You know what I mean, bro? You got all types of artillery lined up. So this is what they need. They need to bring all of that because when this fight does get announced, it's going to be peak, bro. The pressure is a lot. So now the real issue is in between Vegas and wherever Joshua Usyk lands. It's going to be an interesting one. Plus Vegas for Pacquiao Spencer, bro. Decisions, man. Where are you going?
Do you know what? Pacquiao Spencer be good.
Yeah.
Do you know what? Because I really want to start talking to fans out there just to see what they think of our guys. Because don't forget, as much as we try to be as much as international as we are, we can't help but sometimes be caught in the kind of UK, European, domestic scene. I'd really love to hear what they think of our guys, and have a good little show out there and have good conversation about the fight scene, man, and what these guys are. Because there's so many undiscovered fighters in the US that we just see popping up everywhere.
Trust me, absolutely. So let's see what goes on, man. But guys, it's been a pleasure doing the show today. Make sure you look out for the fights this weekend. Make sure you look up for some for more content that's coming out. Sam's got a big interview this week. Female boxer Lauren Parker.
Yes, man.
Looking forward to that. Over the moon.
Stopping it up with a female boxer. Always like to get a female scope on the scene and hear what they got to say. But yeah, looking forward to it. Should be good. Love hearing about the guys that we saw Ellis Hopkins get her first win last couple of weeks. We did one of her first interviews, so I'm excited to kind of speak to her and see how her journey goes. Yeah, no, absolutely, man. It's going to be it should be a good weekend. So guys, don't forget, please remember to subscribe, hit that notification bell, tune in for more future content. Remember to tell a friend to tell a friend. It's been good chopping it up with you guys as always. TFC, LMRT, shout out to Barden. I think that's a private joke with somebody in the chat, but it's all good. That's what we want. We want to grow this boxing community. So guys, as always, it's been a pleasure. Be sure to tune in next week. But until then, peace. Raps on TV.
Let's get